Hi. This is sort of an update video for those of you who might be interested. I'm sure a lot of you read the newspaper and hear on the news about how there's a microchip shortage and car manufacturers have to curtail their manufacturing because they can't get the chips that they need due to the pandemic and all of these other reasons why. And that's all very true. In fact, there was an article in our local newspaper here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where we have a Volkswagen assembly plant, how Volkswagen had to cut their production by nearly 25% in the last quarter because they can't get enough microchips to make the modules that they put in modern cars to do all the modern things that everybody wants in their cars nowadays because they just can't get them. So, and that's a common problem throughout the whole electronics industry. The thing that a lot of people don't think about and doesn't ever come up in the news is that all trickles down slowly to the low-level kind of stuff that we buy for the work that we do here. And the simple fact is, if you're an electronic component manufacturer and your ability to manufacture the products that you have is limited for whatever reason, you're going to have to make a choice. Are you going to spend your manufacturing capital on making microchips that you sell for $100 a piece, or are you going to spend that same amount of manufacturing time and effort for parts that you sell for 10 cents a piece? And no one here should have a problem figuring the answer out to that. You're going to make the more expensive stuff because that's how you make more money. Since the less expensive, simple, common parts are not being manufactured, it slowly trickles down to the point where guys like me who need common everyday stuff that you should always be able to get, sometimes you can't. I have more parts and components on back order now than I think I've ever had in my entire life. Like everyone, we get used to ordering the same parts from the same vendors and the same manufacturers over and over and over again because I've chosen those very specifically because they're perfect for the application that we're using them for, and they're readily available and all like that. And we're not talking about low-end stuff. We're not talking about any Chong capacitors here. We're talking about name brand stuff from good, reliable companies. They're top-tier companies like Nichicon and Panasonic and Texas Instruments and ROM and other international companies that you can rely on that their products are well made. Some parts from some of those companies that I just mentioned, I've looked on the websites for the suppliers that we buy from, and some of them have expected delivery dates that go well into the middle of 2024. If you're watching this video today, you should understand that this is the beginning of April in 2022. So that's more than 2 years from now. Are those dates accurate? Who knows? Nobody knows. I think it's everybody's guessing and trying to do the best they can. Recently, we ran up against a problem that has to do with this and this and that. So this is the power module out of a 4406. And I'm going to take the cover off here so you can see the actual module. Move these out of the way. So part of the normal rebuild on a 4406 power module, and this one is probably from 1996 or maybe 1997. And believe it or not, 4406 master stations are now 26 years old, which is crazy because I remember distinctively when they came out brand new in 1996. So that's been a long time. What's unique about it being 26 years old? It's right in the beginning part of that time frame between 25 and 30 years when almost all NuTone intercoms need their first rebuild. Part of the normal rebuild that gets done on a 4406 power module is these 7 capacitors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These are the power supply and amplifier primary capacitors in the power module. You probably can't really see very well, but this one's fine, this one's fine, this one's fine, that one's fine, that one's fine. This one is failed or beginning to fail, as is this one. And how do you know that? Well, because on the top of the capacitor there are these 3 score marks. It's kind of like an old-fashioned peace sign. When these are new, this top is either flat or concave, which means it's dented down. And as these begin to fail, they get pushed up and now they're convex, which means they're like little mounds. And this one is pushed up and this one is beginning to be pushed up. That one maybe too. These are the type of components that have a lifespan. They're designed to last a certain number of hours, and if you calculate it out based on standard industry calculations, these will normally last in daily use somewhere between 20, 25, maybe 30 years if you're kind of lucky. All 4406s that come through here, for whatever problem that they're in for, power supply gets rebuilt and these capacitors get replaced. They get replaced because, first, these are not necessarily top quality components when they were new. These are Sooooo. There are other brands that they used over the production life of 4406s. Some of them are Sanyo, which I think are better, but these are like second or third tier parts usually, and because they're less expensive. And these are all 85° Celsius rated parts, and the temperature rating on components like capacitors have directly to do with how long they're actually going to last in use. For the last 10 or 12 years, we've been replacing these with these. These are equivalent rating. These are made by Panasonic, which is one of the largest component manufacturers in the world. They make very high quality parts like capacitors. And these are also 105° C rated parts, which give them extra long life. One of the unique things about these and this are their size. These can only be a certain size, otherwise they won't fit correctly underneath the mounting plate when it's all screwed back together. There's only a little bit of extra room between the top of this and the bottom of this plate. And so you can't have a capacitor that's too tall, otherwise the plate won't fit properly. And also the diameter has to be correct. The diameter is not much of an issue because that's sort of a standard industry kind of thing. So these were chosen a long time ago. I chose these because they're excellent quality, they're excellently rated, and they are the correct size. Recently, I got down, and when we buy these, normally I buy like 200 at a time, because you get a better price, and that way I always have plenty, because, you know, we're using 7 at a shot. You never replace only one, you always replace all of them. Recently, I opened my last bag of 50, and I did a couple repairs during the course of that day, and I thought, well, I better order some more because they'll take a little bit of time. They take a week or so to get, and I don't like to be short on things. When I need them, I need them. I went on the website to order them, and they had a delivery date that was about 6 weeks out, which is not bad nowadays. 6 weeks is pretty quick. You know, I'm used to them having thousands of them in stock. You order them and in 3 or 4 days you get them and everybody's happy. So 6 weeks wasn't bad. So I placed the order. They immediately went on back order. I got an email from the company that said our expected ship date would have been sometime around March 10th of 2022. On March 15th of 2022, I got another email from the company saying that their delivery of those parts had been delayed and their new expected ship date was now going to be March 29th of 2022. And like, that was okay. I still had some, not as many. It was less than 50 now, but that would still work out okay. The 29th came and went, and I didn't hear anything, so I thought I would call. There was no update on it. I thought I would call, so I called the supplier to find out what was up with that. And the nice gal on the phone looked it up, and she said, well, based on the amount that we have on back order and based on our expected delivery dates and everything, you're looking at probably sometime towards the middle or end of June of 2022. Now, of course, there's no reason to get mad. It's not her fault. It has to do with worldwide conditions and all that kind of stuff. But the long and the short of the thing is that I need parts. If I don't have those, I can't repair people's 4406s, and that's not good. And so what are you going to do? So what we're going to do is we immediately logged in again and we checked for what they had stock on hand that still met the requirements or were better than what these are already. And let me tell you, there was not a lot to pick from. What you do when you look for parts like this is you go to the supplier's website, you put in all of the parameters of the part that you're looking for, the rating, the temperature, the length, the diameter, all of these other specifications, and then it does an automatic search for you to tell you what's available. in that automatic search, there were probably 10 or 11 different choices, including these that aren't available. And out of all of those choices, there were only 2 that they had actually in stock. One of them was an alternate Panasonic capacitor. However, they only had 34 of those in stock. And 34, that might tide me over a little bit, is not really what I want. I need more than that. So I looked at what the other choice, so there was another choice, and they had 460 of them in stock. And the reason they probably had 460 of them in stock was because those parts cost double what these cost. And everyone is always cost conscious. You need the parts, you need the parts. So these came in the other day. And here we have our nice blue replacement capacitors. These are actually probably higher quality than the Panasonics, not just because they cost twice as much. They cost twice as much because they are made probably better, and they're probably overkill for this particular application. These are made by a company called Vishay. Vishay has been in the component manufacturing business for over 70 years, and they're well known for their quality of their parts. Specifically, they make a lot of resistors and diodes, and they make some thin film resistor arrays and other really high-tech stuff, not things you find in intercoms, things you find in really expensive devices and test equipment and stuff like that. These are the same rating. They're 2200 microfarad at 50 volts. They're rated for 105C, but these are extra long life capacitors. These have, if you calculate out their lifespan, these capacitors have an expected in-use life of 225,000 hours, which is a whole lot of hours. 225,000 hours calculates out to roughly 25 and a half years of daily in-use time. And that's excellent. That's why they cost so much. A lot of parts like this will have half of that life. That's one of the reasons why they cost as much as they do. They're manufactured in a way specifically for a long life in a product. And that's great. That means that these are not going to fail anytime prematurely. It's not like 10 years from now. Again, we're not talking about any Chong capacitors here, who I don't know what the lifespan of them are, but I'm pretty sure they're not going to be 25 and a half years. So I don't think this was really a rant. It was sort of a excited explanation video. How about that? These are just some of the challenges that we face day to day sometimes lately about things like this. And this isn't the only thing like this. We've had to scramble for other parts when we start getting low. Recently, there are 2 integrated circuits that we use that are used in NuTone 8-note long tube door chimes. Those are parts that have existed in the world since like the mid-70s. They're not cutting edge in any way. And normally I keep 15, 25 of them of each. There's one of each on every board, and we keep that many in stock because that covers the number of chimes that we repair every month, and it's not a problem. And I was getting low. I was down to like 5 of each or so, and I thought I would order another 25 or 30 of each, so I had plenty on hand. Again, went to the supplier, 0 on hand from almost every major supplier that we buy from. Nobody had them, and delivery dates were like a year out. So I went to an alternate supplier, not a company I buy a lot from, but they are a reputable supplier, and they actually had several hundred of each in stock. Now, their stock was in England because they're an international company. Sometimes you order parts from overseas, you get them faster than parts if you order them from Los Angeles. So the shipping's not really a problem, and if you buy enough, the shipping's free, so what do I care? I did what any competent, well-meaning, thoughtful business owner would do under these current conditions. I ordered 100 of each, so I'm hoarding them just like everybody else. Now, I have probably cornered the market on them, although I don't think they'll be worth any more than they're ever worth. We just need them to fix door chimes. I hope you found this interesting, and hopefully it will be helpful or at least enlighten people a little bit about what goes on in the world that we work in. If you did, and you do, give it a thumbs up on YouTube because that helps us just a little bit. There'll be a banner right here that shows you how to subscribe. Go to our YouTube homepage, click on the bell, and when you click on the bell, click on it to receive all notifications, and every time we post a new video, you'll get a notification and you can watch it. That's all for today. See you on the next video.